Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning. Joined by our friend Krista Huff. Boy, great timing to have you on today. Talking all things money. Good morning.
I know. Good morning. How are you today?
Me, I'm good. I'm agnostic when it comes to the markets. And, for the past 3 or 4 years, fear of missing out and all that. But a day like yesterday, and I'm feeling pretty good about myself. And you?
I bought low on a stock that was down 12% yesterday, so I'm excited. I feel like I got a bargain.
Well, you always did, and then the last time we had you on, you said there would be some corrections coming up. So, what do you make of what happened yesterday?
Well, first of all, we're still in the recovery phase from the stock market correction that was in late January, early February. And during a recovery phase, the market bounces up and down. So yesterday's downward bounce was normal within that construct, but it did bounce down an abnormal amount because of the trade problems with China. However, I was very heartened that the S&P 500 came down to a very specific support level and did not fall any farther. So that means that the market was trading within normal ranges.
Indeed. But yet we heard everybody, panicking yesterday.
Well, because panicking makes headlines, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it gets people to tune in, right? So are things really as scary as the media portrays them? Did Donald Trump wave a magic wand and cause a trade problem, or is Donald Trump addressing a trade problem that several previous administrations also tried to address to no avail? I'm voting for the latter.
Well, when we take a look at China and how much influence they have, the president's argument is, look, you want to sell a car over there, they slap a big tariff on it. We don't really slap a big tariff on our products or their products over here. So why not try?
And I think that we're seeing a pattern with this president where he will come out and say something very bold and blustery that gets everybody riled up. And then in the negotiations, everything gets dialed back. So I'm recognizing that this is his pattern. For example, I think he was talking about the North Korea dictator and making all kinds of threats, right? And everybody thought, oh, no, we're going to have a nuclear war. And then he ends up scheduling a meeting to meet with the guy and try to resolve everything. So I would take Donald Trump's statements with a grain of salt, not meaning that he is just stupid and blustery, but more like he's saying these blustery things on purpose while behind the scenes they're working very hard to resolve international problems. So I'm not actually concerned about the scary headlines, and I'm fairly pleased with the kinds of results that are taking place.
Well, and many people have said, a friend of mine said during the campaign, if you read Art of the Deal, that's exactly what he's been doing.
Well, it totally makes sense. I mean, each president, each person, you and I even, we have our personal styles. And so you need to recognize, okay, what is this person's personal style, and is it relatively consistent? And I would say with this president, it seems to be relatively consistent. So just, watch what he does and take it with a grain of salt.
Well, and here's the other thing about this. He seems to drive the media crazy. I mean, you seem to have... Krista, you seem to have a great read on him, but the media just takes him, everything he says, verbatim.
Well, they do, or they pretend they do. Again, the more exciting and alarming they portray his words, the more they're going to have people tune into their news broadcasts and such. So a lot of this is marketing and entertainment, which is why I do not own a television, and I do not read, citywide newspapers, the Wall Street Journal, et cetera. I have really good sources for factual information, and I make those decisions based on facts, and I don't care what anyone's opinions are about the facts, because facts are facts, and they have served me well for many decades. And so I'm just going to stick to, the information I get from trade journals and economic numbers and such.
Boy, very different from the hyperbole media industrial complex. So let's talk a little bit about the steel tariffs and, again, trade war.
Right. Okay. So there were trade abuses in the steel industry for so long that the U.S. steel industry was collapsing, and not because the U.S. wasn't good at making steel or we were overpriced or whatnot, but largely because of we are dealing with certain countries. Some of the countries we deal with are socialist and communist, and they have government-sponsored enterprises, which means like a steel company in China, for example, might not be required to make any profit whatsoever in their production, so they can, because the government throws money at them. So because they're not required to be profitable, they can sell their steel at any price they want. And so if they specifically want to undercut U.S. steel prices with the goal of driving U.S. companies out of business, they are not only free to do that, but their government encourages it. And that is the basis behind the new steel tariffs, which go into effect today. However, 65% of steel imports are excluded from those tariffs, including steel coming from Canada, Mexico, the European Union, and 4 other countries. So again, while it sounded like the world was coming to an end when all this was announced a couple of weeks ago, now we're seeing it really dialed back, and it's being taken on a country-by-country basis. Does this country cheat with us? No. Well, then let's not put tariffs on them. Does this other country cheat? Yeah, this is one of our problem countries. Let's give tariffs to them. I personally think that sounds relatively reasonable.
Right, but I guess that's why you've skipped the media tsunami then.
Right. And, I have been investing in steel stocks. I bought one yesterday when it was down with the hullabaloo. It was down 12% yesterday, so I went ahead and bought it. And then lo and behold, I'm reading a research report that the one I bought yesterday is practically the smartest one to buy because the tariffs are going to be heavy in the area of rebar. And the one I bought yesterday is called Commercial Metals, and rebar is one of their major products. And so their pricing will stay very firm because their competitors, largely in Turkey, will have the tariffs slapped on them.
What do you make of the steel industry itself? Obviously, you're hot on it. And is this particularly the American steel industry?
Yes. In most cases, I am concentrated on U.S. stocks, although occasionally I invest in European stocks. Commercial Metals, the company I just mentioned, prior to this whole steel tariff hullabaloo, back in January, the company was expected to see their profits grow over 100% this year and about 30% next year. And now with the recent steel tariffs, those numbers have gone up a little bit. But even if the tariffs didn't exist, Commercial Metals and other steel companies are thriving right now, both with revenue and profits, because economies around the world are mostly all growing at the same time right now, which is somewhat unusual. But when you have growing economies, basic industry like steel benefits from building and such. So, I'm happy owning steel stocks. I don't care if we're, fooling around with tariffs right now. The companies were making good money anyway.
Well, Krista Huff joining us here, Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Krista, if people want your insight, and look, you're very humble on these scenes. So if you could, tell us how successful you are. What can they do?
Oh, okay. I write a stock market newsletter for Cabot, CABOT, and they can find my stock market newsletter at cabotwealth.com, and it's called Cabot Undervalued Stocks Advisor. And I basically have a growth and value strategy that combines both of those strategies, and then I use technical analysis to decide when to buy or sell stocks. And this is not for day traders. This is for people who really want to own stocks but learn more about which ones are smart to buy and which ones are not and why. I'm pretty good at explaining that in writing.
Well, that's good. And you explained it to us here at KIDO Talk Radio. So let's continue on here. How do you see the first quarter just about ready to end? The second quarter will begin. How do you see 2018 so far?
Well, we started off with the continued bull market and then followed by a correction. but the stocks that I invest in are still up year to date. And let me see where the S&P stands. The S&P is about flat year to date. As the S&P 500 just recovers from the recent market correction, which it will unless something weird like nuclear war happens, I expect the market to recover to the January levels, then trade there for a little while, let's say throughout this coming summer, and then I expect the market to continue climbing, certainly by the fourth quarter, if not earlier. And if we had another year where the S&P 500 went up a total of 15 or 20%, I would not remotely be surprised.
Wow, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, so right now, since the S&P is about flat for the year, this is an awesome time to invest. I always tell people, wait for the down days before you buy, because then you get like a profit by the second day that you own the stocks, you know. So we just had a big down day. Buy now, and if you're scared, don't invest all your money all at once. Buy some today. Wait a week or two, buy some more. Wait a week or two, buy some more. You're going to end up with some bargain prices in there, and then you have to give it time. You can't just expect to make money in 3 months.
I see. Finally, and you've pointed out that many of these steel importers are exempt from the tariff. Do you expect President Trump to possibly, you know, if the Canadians and the Mexicans or whomever else we get steel from decide not to play with us, to all of a sudden throw them in as well?
Oh, you know, it's hard for me to imagine that the U.S. Trade Representative and because that's really where these decisions are coming from. It's hard for me to imagine that they would put tariffs on steel coming from Canada and Mexico. A lot of that has to do with the renegotiations of NAFTA. We are very far along in the renegotiation process. Most of the chapters in NAFTA have already been finalized. And so there are a few sticking points. And so the president sort of uses these tariffs as a carrot and a stick, like, okay, if you go ahead and finish negotiating on NAFTA, we won't give you any tariffs on steel. So I'm pretty confident that the new NAFTA will really alleviate a lot of these tensions.
Well, Krista, we appreciate it. Thank you very much, and you have a great day. And once again, if people want to get a hold of you, what can they do?
They can go to CabotWealth.com, or they can just Google my name because I am everywhere. It's Krista Huff.
Krista, thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Kevin. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio coming up this weekend, of course, we have the Stormy Daniels situation. Not only do we have that at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, we have this issue involving this big march. In fact, somebody the other day said to me, hey, Kevin Miller, how big is this march going to be? Well, I'm sure our friends in the media will cover it, and they'll say, oh, it's you know, it's not anti-gun. It's not this. But how can it not be? You know, the cover of Time magazine, they have the progressives on their cover, but they don't have the conservatives that say, look, we want the right and the ability to protect ourselves. In fact, you know, all things that we take a look at here go back to a statement made by the Attorney General when he was the Assistant Attorney General. That's the former Attorney General, that is Eric Holder, when he talked about firearms and weapons and the like, right? Remember, he talked about guns and firearms, and we've played this clip forever, but to me, it really emphasizes what we're up against.
We need to do this every day of the week and just really brainwash people into thinking about guns in a vastly different way.
Right. Now you have some people, they're not going to sell guns, they're not going to be a part of guns because they have an issue with school shootings. Now, we saw what happened in Maryland earlier this week, where you had somebody who was in a gun-free zone, brought in a weapon, started shooting people up, and you had a school resource officer who was trained, who was fired up, who went in there and took down this 17-year-old perp. Now, we can talk about why, or we can talk about protecting. This March coming up, again, join us Monday morning. We will be the antidote to what you'll hear all weekend long about these kids taking to the streets. And by the way, I'm happy they're doing it on a weekend instead of a weekday. And we heard the comments the last time, hey, I'm skipping school. Hey, this is great. But in your heart of hearts, is it really going to do anything except garner a lot of attention? And you're going to have a lot of grumpy reporters that have to work on Saturday morning, right? And downtown will be a mess, but who really goes downtown on the weekends? I'm trying to think of, is there a better way to deal with this? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning here, 8:25, time for traffic. And Kevin Miller in the morning here. Phone number is 580-5436. Thank you, Ray and I. We'll talk a little bit about Stormy in a minute, but first, the anti-Stormy, Pro-Life, joins us now at KIDO Talk Radio.
Yeah, Stormy, she would be not a good hookup for anybody. But anyway, I want to talk about a little bit about a governor and a legislature's relationship. Now, really, a governor should be the servant of the legislature. They should execute the laws faithfully that the legislature creates. And we are not doing that on a national level, and we're not doing it on a state level. Now, you hear in the Brad Little advertisements that he and the governor overturned Obamacare. Now, I think that should be the function of the state legislature. And I've got to have somebody clarify that, probably Brad Little or somebody in the legislature, because I think that they exceeded their authority, and nobody's even challenging that.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Well, did our legislature give the authority to the governor that he could end our relationship with the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act? I don't think so. I think that the governor and the lieutenant governor, lieutenant governor piggybacking on with the governor for advertising reasons, I think that they exceeded their authority. Has to be a legislative function to get out of Obamacare.
Well, are you calling on them to be impeached then?
No, I'm calling on them. Well, we don't have impeachment in Idaho.
Right, but maybe we could create that. I mean, you always wanted Obama impeached. What about your friend Governor Otter?
Well, he needs to be recalled then. We have a recall system here. And it's not right. And I don't hear it. You'd think that Little's opponents would be saying something about that, but they don't. I guess because they do the same thing. They would exceed their authority. So that's what I. And anyway, I think that.
What do you think?
I think that the president would not go out with any kind of a prostitute whatsoever, because he's a germaphobe. He doesn't like to get.
Well, look. Hold on. Here's the deal. Now, I'm sorry I have to say something to you. I don't know what's gotten into people lately, but this really is a family show. Right. And we're not like a lot of people that say we're a family show and we delve into the crass or the lewd. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, Kevin Miller, you should go interview somebody at this festival downtown. And you should have fun with them. It would be a good viral video, and you'd go, yuck, yuck, ha, ha. And I go, you know something? That doesn't fit the family that we've built here. Now, I've often had a thing that, and I haven't always lived by it, if you can't say it in church or you can't say it in front of your parents, you just don't say these things. Now, for you to start talking about the president as a germaphobe and Stormy this and Stormy that, I think she's an exotic dancer or adult entertainer. I don't think that, she's a prostitute. So we'll kindly apologize for that because, again, we want to be held, we hold people to a higher standard pro-life, and we want to hold you to one as well.
No, pornography is prostitution. And it's corrupting the life of a nation. It's just totally ridiculous. And there's no reason why.
Well, and you could thank CNN for that because pornography is going mainstream thanks to CNN.
Yeah.
You heard that clip from Ray and Maya. You heard the clip from Sean Hannity. That's what they're promoting. They are the smut network, and anybody associated with CNN, they're smut.
Yep. that's the way we're going, and it shouldn't be that way.
And there you have it, pro-life. God bless. The return of Matt Otter 2 days in a row at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Good morning. I wasn't going to call up, Kevin, but when pro-life was bashing the governor, I have to call up and defend him. As far as Brad Little goes, he is piggybacking on the governor. He was right about that. But let's get one thing straight here. Butch Otter was the greatest governor we ever had and still is. Look, he's done more for Idaho than any other governor as far as conservative rights and just ideals in general, Kevin. He's helped our police force. He's helped, roads around here. I don't know about you, but I've been to other cities around the country, and we have nicer roads than they do, Kevin.
Here's what happens. And we haven't had this in a while. And thankfully, we're glad that you're back here at KIDO Talk Radio, because I think that the governor needs people like you to defend him. What would happen if the governor were in the race today?
Well, I'd help campaign for him, Kevin. I really wish he would, go out for another term because, yeah, he is getting up there in age, but he's still, very intelligent, very, with it, very coherent. So I don't see why he couldn't run another term, to be honest with you. But I would like to tell him, to please run. We love him here in Idaho, and for the people that doubt him, well, I just say, look around you. Look at our community. Look at our look at our state compared to the other states in our nation.
Would he win?
I think so, easily. Yeah.
You're
Look,
saying
Mr. Alquist doesn't have any experience, Kevin. He's got
hold on.
experience.
Let me finish the question here at KIDO Talk Radio. Our friend Matt Otter joining us. So if Governor Otter ran, he would win the primary and he'd win the general, in your opinion?
In my opinion, yeah. I think it would be a tough race up between him and Labrador, but I think he would eventually win out there, Kevin.
Well, that's fair enough, and you have been consistent. So, without the governor in the race, who do you see winning? Who is your pick right now?
Well, I'm going to stand behind Labrador. Raul is he was a great congressman, and he'll be a great governor for us.
Wow.
As far as I know, he didn't sign that new tax bill that President Trump vetoed.
You're right.
So, I mean, it just shows you what people do. It shows you right there. We don't know what Mr. Alquist is going to do. He's not in politics right now. So I'd say go with the guy that has a good record of filibustering for Idaho. He's a great leader.
There you have it. Possibly remembered as the greatest governor ever, in your opinion.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot, Kevin, and God bless, and have a great weekend.
God bless you. We appreciate you. Thank you. There we have it, Matt Otter. It's interesting that these campaigns are kicking off and everybody's putting all their money on these digital things, and that's great. But, and this is rather self-serving, people that want to reach primary voters, there's really one place to reach them that are actively engaged, and that's right here. A station that lives for the government and the politics and the covering it. It's just interesting that you see all this stuff and, hi diddle diddle. It's almost like direct mail. I don't know if you've been starting to get direct mail all the time, and does anybody read that stuff? Actually, this is the crazy thing. I got some direct mail the other day from a congressional candidate from Oklahoma. Odd. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This is something that really no one else will have enough guts to cover because, again, that's how it is. But this whole Stormy Daniels thing, this whole thing about, the president and, all of a sudden on the Today Show, they've had another adult entertainer. Where were these people when Bill Clinton did what he did to Monica Lewinsky, to Paula Jones, to Juanita Broderick? And you look, when a Democrat does something nefarious, when a lib does something illegal, when a lib Look at Harvey Weinstein, one of the biggest libs ever, and see how they coddled and protected him. Compare that to what the president's going through and his family. Now, again, if you're going to do that in your private life, I'm going to be consistent. I'm not going to make excuses. That's not a good thing. That doesn't really, how should I put this, ingratiate a huge amount of trust, right? But as our friend Sean Hannity broke down at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, CNN seems to be the smut news network, right? That's really what it comes down to. They're just seemingly promoting smut. And, where were all these people during Bill Clinton's escapades? Now, I know that we live in an ADD, instant gratification world. However, preceding the Me Too movement, but this stuff went on, and Clinton got away with it. Deborah in Mountain Home with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Deborah.
Good morning, Kevin. Thank you for taking my call.
Well, thanks for calling in.
I wanted to give a comment on this Stormy Daniels thing. And my comment is, every time we get close to any kind of elections, they always drum up all of these things and they try to bring up things that happened back when our president was a private individual. I don't know if it happened or if it didn't happen, but quite frankly, it really doesn't matter right now. Because right now, he's got bigger fish to fry. There's things on his plate that he's trying to get accomplished.
Sure.
And trying to do for the United States. And it's just another typical smear campaign, in my opinion.
I totally agree with you on that.
That's all that I had to say. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, you don't be a stranger, Deborah. We appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Kevin. This is my first call to you.
Well, please don't make it your last.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio, your proud home of Sean Hannity weekday afternoons. And, we were talking about the fake news and how we try to be the oasis of credibility and integrity. And Sean really hit it out last night. Let's take a listen here at KIDO Talk Radio.
All right, but we begin tonight with more fake news from CNN. This time it is spewing from the lips of the Clinton News Network president. His name is Jeff Zucker. And according to The Hollywood Reporter, Zucker recently blasting Fox News' quote, a propaganda machine and state-run TV. Now, by the way, Fox News, like every newspaper in the country, they have a sports page, they have a news page, a gossip page, and they have an editorial page. Oh, opinion programming. He even went on to say that this network does, quote, a disservice to the country. Now, this is coming from the man whose so-called cable news station, CNN, is literally nicknamed the Bleep Hole Network because they have an obsession with the word. You might remember this.
Is there a difference if the president said, hole or house? Do you think these countries are holes?
Donald Trump has turned the Oval Office into a hole.
Holers built this country 110 years ago.
In addition to the president's comments yesterday, a few more.
Whole countries.
Hole.
Whole. 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 Whole country. Rich, do you have any example of any whole country that the president referred to that is predominantly Caucasian? Holers.
Holes.
Holers. I work for holers.
Hole. Hole.
Hole. Hole. Hole. I'm proud to be a holer.
I never in a million years thought I would be saying hole on television.
And you got to give Sean and his staff for putting that together. And his point being that you have people that aren't covering the news. They're just promoting their agenda, which is what we've talked about here at KIDO Talk Radio for years. That's why we love having Sean on. He tells it like it is. Now it gets better because we're getting ready for this big interview with Stormy. And really, are we covering the news or creating the news?
Jeff Zucker's Bleep Hole Network, well, they also have a new obsession. Basically, soft-core pornography. From the nonstop coverage of Stormy Daniels to the constant speculation about an alleged affair between Trump and a porn star, if you're looking for 24/7, never-ending, looped-around, porn-related news, CNN fake news, they have you covered. Take a look.
This could be the last nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Stormy Daniels is causing stormy weather.
Porn star Stormy Daniels claims President Trump broke the law, had her bullied.
Does Stormy Daniels have the president's number? It sure seems that way.
President Trump might have met his match with Stormy Daniels.
How is Stormy weathering this?
Stormy speaks.
We're hearing quite a bit from Stormy Daniels.
Stormy, in her own words, isn't going anywhere.
Stormy Daniels has a good lawyer. The porn star Stormy Daniels was telling the truth.
Stormy Daniels is on a tear.
Quick preview of Stormy Daniels' interview this Sunday.
Breaking news that Stormy Daniels.
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 The reason he can't engage with Stormy Daniels is because she's got his number.
And there we have it from our own friend Sean Hannity. Let's talk about it in a minute. First, traffic and weather together. And Kevin Miller in the morning here. So, it comes down to why is our society, again, going off the moral cliff where, you have the smut on the TV, you have the smut on the radio and the internet, and you think to yourself, well, where is a refuge? Well, again, we do our very best with your help, with your considerable help, to provide you that each and every morning. But, as Sean broke that down, where you had people saying the blank hole station all the time, is that really serving the public good? Of course it's not serving the public good. Of course it's not furthering a civilized, moral discussion, right? And then we take a look at CNN and their acolytes with Stormy Daniels, and you have people with their comments, and, again, it's salacious. It's, going to bring down the president. Well, where were they with Clinton? Where were they with these other folks? And look, that does not excuse Donald Trump, but as we heard before with Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, what happens in their private life, look, I'm not judging people, but Donald Trump never professed to be something he's not, right? And like I said, it's just amazing that you have one network that is so heck bent on trying to bring down this president who, what is he focused in on? The budget. And when's the last time, Democrat or Republican, you have a president threatening to veto the bill because it spends too much money? It doesn't deal with the dreamers. It doesn't deal with the DACAs. It doesn't fund the wall. Could have been very easy for the president to just kind of go, well, I'm going to fiddle and a diddle. Don't we have enough fiddling and a diddle and a dabble and a dribble these days? Like I said, it's amazing to me when you're taking a look at raising families and moving on with traditional American values. Go back to Fred Rogers. If you missed it, there's a story at KIDOTalkRadio.com. I'll put it on Facebook. I'll repost it about the new Mr. Rogers documentary coming out and about showing people love and showing people that, we're all different, but let's bring America together. We don't see that with the media. We don't see that with CNN and all their affiliates, right? It's like that. If you're associated with the libs, you're a lib. Now, we're proudly associated with the Fox News Channel. Some people say the Fox News Channel isn't conservative enough. It's good enough for me. But what I'd like to see is the impact of these tariffs on steelworkers, not Stormy sings the blues, right? And where are the Me Too people on this? Surprisingly silent, right? Kind of crazy, if you will. But we are so blessed to be able to meet with you each and every morning. Thank you very much. Thank you for making a difference, because you do. You're so important to us. Am I a great job? Monday morning, we'll have a review and commentary on the marches. God bless. Keep the faith.